What's good, everybody? Welcome back to another video. It's been a few days since I've uploaded, and I know what some of you guys are thinking. I said I was planning on uploading daily or every 2 days, as I put it in one of my most recent videos. Now, aside from that, we're back with another video. In today's video, we're going to be discussing or showcasing the Super Witch Fireball army that was pretty popular towards the end of towards the middle end of Townhall 16, and I believe is very strong still. I am actually using this army on my second account to push, kind of having fun with it. Now, I will pretty much be discussing the army, showing you how I use it, breaking down some tips and tricks of how you can use the army pretty effectively and efficiently, and a couple things to look out for. Now, the main thing with this army, before I get into it, I want to let you guys know the two biggest ways to fail with this army are very avoidable. Now, the biggest thing would be time failing, or if you get too greedy with the fireball. Now I'll show you how to not be greedy with the fireball, because it's very important, especially when you're only running 3 invis. This is not like rocket balloons where you want to go for a deep fireball. I myself have been known for being too greedy, especially when I do my attacks on stream. But yeah, let's get pretty much into it. Before we get into it though, I want to talk to you guys about the streams lately. I've been streaming every single day on YouTube as well as Twitch. You guys can see all of these streams here on my live stream tab. We had a collab with Refuse earlier, also Aki16, all these streams. Now, I should honestly be taking some of these stream content, uploading it to YouTube. Technically, it is being uploaded because I'm streaming them, but if you guys want to check the streams out, I stream every single day on YouTube now and Twitch as well. So you guys can check out all the clips that I post in my Shorts tab, as well as if you guys buy anything in the shop, the brand new Fire and Ice Super Bundle is in the shop, the Cozy Sauna and the Fire and Ice Scenery, as well as the brand new King Skin as well. If you buy in the store, you get extra points. So if you want to support me, use code Termy. Anyways, let's get back into it. So, as far as the army goes, now go to War tab. So, for this army, the main army is obviously Super Witches and Fireball. Now, I'll show you guys the army: 2 archers, 2 barbarians, 1 archer, 1 giant, 3 wall breakers, 2 balloons, 1 wizard, 5 healers, a baby dragon, 2 valkyries, 3 Super Witches, a headhunter, a mini warden, and 2 druids. For the spells, 2 rage, a jump, a freeze, 3 invis, and of course a quick spell. Now for the CC, it can vary. I am personally running this for now, but I believe having a root rider as well as 2 super minions at least is pretty good. You can also run valkyries, but the reason why I like to run the root rider, I'll show you guys later on in the attack when I'm doing it, is mostly because the root rider breaks the walls open for the super witches towards the end of the attack, which is very useful. Now for the CC, I always bring a poison and a revive spell. That's just a personal preference. In this case, you could bring another rage if you wanted. That's what I would probably recommend. That's what's normally with this army, but ever since Townhall 6 dropped, that's what I'm using. In terms of the heroes here, I'm running the Phoenix on the King with the Spiky Bowl and Quake Boots. For the Queen, Frosty, Magic Mirror, and Healer Puppet. For the Warden, obviously Fireball, Rage Gem, and the Unicorn. And then for the RC kind of just depends on what you like. Before it was Hog Haste. Ever since the introduction of the Electro Boots, I've been running Electro Boots and a Rocket Spear with the Diggy. Now you can also run the Spirit Fox as well. It's kind of how you want to use the army there, or the RC there, to support your army. I use 3 siege barracks. Now I typically like to carry 3 different kinds of sieges: 3 siege machines, a log launcher, and a flame flinger. And yeah, that's pretty much as far as it goes. That's pretty much the army. So now I'll show you guys a recent attack I did. So you'll notice here on a base like this, right? This base has pretty good fireball value in a couple of places, right? Now, when you're looking at the base, the town hall is kind of set in a teaser location. The fire spitters are facing this way, kind of incentivizing you to either go to this right side, try to bait you in, or, you know, kind of go from this left side to avoid some of the damage. Now, in this case, there's a couple places we can exploit this base, right? The most notably, a lot of the value, because of the way these signature defenses are set up here, right, is, let's highlight these. Now, signature defenses are right here, kind of split up a little bit, so you can't really fireball much at a time unless you were to do some crazy warden walk. Now, I really don't recommend warden walking into the town hall because the radius of the town hall is like 12 tiles. And on top of that, the warden, if he's getting hit by the town hall plus other defenses, he just gets destroyed. Like, look at this: multi-archer tower, ricochet, 2 ground bows. I mean, it just won't go well. On top of like the king and the whole entire hero farm. So now the biggest thing we want to look for is where is the main value on this base, besides all the signature defenses that I just mentioned, right? All these multi-archer towers, ricochet cannons, scatter shots, heroes, of course. Now, I think this is pretty good value. This could be considered semi-greedy in a way. Now, remember when I said earlier, the two main ways to fail this army are being greedy or time failing? I'm going to show you guys a way to avoid this. If you look here, this is actually a very easy fireball to hit. I'll tell you why. Now, this is only going to require you to sacrifice 3 invis spells. Look at this. The RC's here, but you'll notice she cannot hit in this grass area, which I'm going to be using. And I'm going to be dropping my 3 invis spells on this, and this. Notice how I'll cover all 3 of those areas. And you have to be very careful when you're invising. Sometimes you might overlook things, but you really want to make sure you invis correctly before you throw the fireball. Otherwise, it can end badly for you. So in this case, I can hit all of this area. And I'm only bringing 1 quick, so I'm able to take out the CC. But that's fine. As long as I get this poison tower, that's a really good value. Another thing that you want to look out for when you're doing super witches is poison towers. They will slow you down like a lot, so you really want to be careful when it comes to poison towers, especially when they get thrown at your super witches. So anyways, let's showcase the attack here. As far as setting up the attack, obviously this is a legend link hit, so you only have 30 seconds to plan. I'm experienced with this army, so I can make up the plan like that very shortly. But I recommend FCing a lot, obviously. So I'm always checking. The first thing I do in an attack when I'm already knowing where I want a fireball, right, is checking with barbarians. That's what the 2 barbarians are for, right? Checking for the Teslas. You want to make sure you don't fireball on Teslas. Now, like I said, I'm going to invis, and then I'm going to place my warden out of range of the RC right here in the middle. That way it lines up to this poison tower area, right? So you'll notice here, boom, fireball takes out that, quake right away, boom, get the ricochet as well. Or I get the scatter shot as well. The ricochet is kind of low, but it's fine. Now in this case, I have to decide where do I want to go into. Do I want to go left or do I want to go right? Now, sometimes I like to avoid the Townhall and go away from it. But in this case, I saw the way the ground bows were. You really want to be wary of ground expos as well. If they lock onto your warden, you're going to have to end up sacrificing a spell to get that expo off of you, or you're going to have to push into the expos quickly, because if those expos like kind of stick on your warden, he's going to end up going down like regardless. So you want to make sure that your warden is not being destroyed, right? So in this case, I put my warden with the super witches, and then I decide to use the Hedorner and the Valkyrie on the RC there, kind of pushing the right side of the base. Now I'm going to go into the Town Hall because, like I said, the ground balls are going to be a little annoying to go into, and of course there's more value over here. The Town Hall's over here, the Fire Spitters over here, so I'm just going to go ahead and go into the base. You'll notice I'm pushing with the super witches. This ricochet kind of being a little bit annoying, but it's like 1 HP. It's kind of low, so I'm just going to go ahead and kill it right off the rip. That's one thing you want to do too. Like if you notice the defense is really low, you can kind of just dive into it and jump out it right away and kill it. Now the next thing is obviously going to be the siege barracks placement. 99% of the time when I'm using this army, I use siege barracks because you want to use the siege barracks for funneling. The 2 P.E.K.K.A.s with the wizards is very useful, and you can also use the archer queen to kind of set up the funnel here as well. Now obviously my main goal, I've already done the fireball. I've already made sure I've set up somewhat of a funnel. Now my witches are going directly to where I want them to go, right? Fireball. So 3 steps, actually 4 steps. Check for the Tesla. I would consider this is 1 step actually. Check for the Tesla fireball, and then decide, do you want to go left or do you want to go right? I'm going to go right. So in this case, I'm going to place the siege barracks right here where I placed it. These troops should be able to clear out all of these here, except for that ricochet is kind of being annoying. But anyways, we have the queen here helping the ricochet support. And now our main goal is to go into this base like this, like that. Go towards this middle area here and try to make something happen, and then we can use our RC on the top side here. And that's pretty much the plan on most bases. Like overall, that's pretty much what you would do. So as you can see here, also you want to make sure your king doesn't walk. So I usually wait for my king a little bit to place him down just to make sure he doesn't walk, right? So we kind of freeze the Town Hall here. You just got to be wary of your spell placements. Sometimes I'll also pop the queen ability early with the magic mirror to try to make sure I funnel my troops directly inside the base. That's very, very important. You don't want if your super witches walk around the base, it could be GG's and a lot of times, because if these defenses, especially a lot of Town 17 high hitting defenses, start locking onto your witches, it could be GG's. Like you really want to make sure your super witches go inside with your king, especially your king, because that way you can make sure you make use of your quake boots and your spiky ball. That way they hit something that is very, very useful, right? So anyways, now we're pushing into the middle of the base. You'll notice this monolith is locking onto the king. I can make a decision here. Do I want to jump spell this and then quake spell, quake boots, down the end? Not going to look like it's going to happen because my king is stuck in the NATO currently, getting locked on by the monolith. So now you want to make a decision. Do you want to quick boots early. Sometimes you're forced to, that's fine. Now it's just going to come down to your jump spell placement. Now the CC comes out, luckily it's a trash CC, it's just balloons, but if it was ice golems, it's fine. I would just poison and kind of deal with it. Now you'll notice a lot of my troops do end up slowing down here, like I mentioned earlier. That poison tower is very, very annoying. Imagine if I had to deal with 2 poison towers in this location. I'm going to pause here because a lot's going on. So now I'm pushing through the base. I made a very good funnel thanks to the siege barracks troops clearing out this area, as well as the, the wizards. And I'm also going to place the RC on the top side. Now, one thing you do want to be aware of, I kind of got greedy here with the RC placement. If you're using the rocket spear, honestly, you should probably use her a little earlier than I did. I am in this position right now and I have not even used the RC ability yet. It probably would have been better if I would have used the RC ability like back here. But I kind of wanted to be a little greedy because there was a lot of base still left over. So I kind of wanted to use my RC to tank with my army. But I did risk her dying. So like the biggest thing I keep mentioning with this army is you don't want to get greedy. Like with the fireball, with your hero abilities, like you want to try to play it safe a lot of the times, because if you get too greedy, like your stuff's gonna end up dying. Like super witches already have decent amount of health, your heroes have decent amount of health. Why risk, like failing, right? But in this case, I should have took my own advice. Luckily the diggy does stun because I run the diggy on the RC. As you can see, my base, the base is getting kind of overwhelmed here. The only real thing that could stop me is the single target inferno. I'm going to jump through. I only have a baby dragon left, so I'm going to place it on the left side. That wall breaker is not going to do much, so I'll just go ahead and place it. And as you can see, I end up just walking the entire base very, very efficiently, very, very effectively. So yeah, man, pretty clean sweep. This is like pretty much a clear-cut example of how you attack. The only thing I would change probably is just my RC ability being a little bit earlier. Now, obviously, the more you attack, and if you're doing not just Legend League, you're doing like a war attack, you have a lot more time to plan. But in Legend League, keep in mind you only have 30 seconds, so you got to be wary of that as well. And you also don't want to overplan. Like if you find a base that has really good value, you just want to stick to that value, get that value, and then go from there. You don't want to be in a situation where you get greedy, improvise, and then you mess up the fireball, and then you have to like try to save the attack. I've been there plenty of times. It doesn't go well, right? Now, I'll break down another attack here, and then we'll go into it. So this base is very, very easy. Like, this is a very common Legend League base currently, I believe, especially because Road Champion charges are meta, right? Now, Invis Towers can kind of throw the RC off the path and annoy you a little bit. So, in this case, I'll show you guys the way that I approach it currently. Actually, there is a crack for this base, as a matter of fact. This involves using the Flame Flinger. I'll show you guys really quick, and then we'll get into the replay. So I think the crack for this base, normally, you got to be wary, of course, of ground bows and fire spitters. But normally the crack is, if it's not modified, you can actually place a Flame Flinger here. It'll hit this ricochet cannon here, trigger this Invis Tower, and then the Flame Flinger will go here, kill this Wizard Tower, and then come back to this area here, and then start taking out this whole entire Invis comp. And then you can decide to, fireball another area like this, or like this, really anything. Or you can even try to go, I guess in that case, Warden Walk and try to go for a fireball in the middle. But you do really got to be careful of being greedy. Now, if you don't want to do all that, right, that's kind of like once you know how to use the Flame Flinger and stuff like that. Going on down the line, I'm just going to show how to do the Warden Walk and basically right into the fireball, right? Like, this is pretty much the bread and butter of the attack, right? So now, I know the location of the CC, because I can, obviously select it now with scouting and attacking. Like I said, 30 seconds to plan. This is a very common base, luckily, so I know exactly what I'm going to do. I'm planning on fireballing right onto this Invis Tower area. Now, unfortunately, with the introduction of Townhall 17 CC level, you cannot actually fireball it and destroy it anymore, but I can still destroy the entire composition. So, I invis, 3 invises, 1, 2, 3, fireball, I take down the whole entire compartment. Very simple. And I kind of just go from there. Actually, from this point on, the smartest thing to do would be to siege barracks this side with the queen. Now, I did try to get a little creative because I've done this in the past, and also I was attacking on stream. So sometimes I like to be a little creative, but I don't recommend doing something like this. This is very risky. I'll show you guys kind of like, you can, like, if you try to pull stuff like this and you're not really used to doing this army, you'll probably fail. So in this case, I try to like make sure I distract this ricochet cannon, place a giant down, and I'm actually going to kill the CC since it's 1 HP with a log launcher here. Like I said, I don't recommend doing this if you, this is just kind of improvising a little bit. Like I said, like I mentioned earlier, you don't really want to do this. Luckily, I already know how to clap this base. I think the most safest thing to do would be to siege barracks and make your siege barracks walk around here, and then just go from there, right? I'll show you guys how to attack this base doing the way that I recommend. Like I said, this way it can be very messy. I still ended up really 3-starring this base easily, jump spell through, queen ability, but you end up getting like too many things to manage and it gets too complicated. So yeah, like I said, I don't recommend attacking like this. I recommend just being straightforward, and once you kind of develop how to use the army, then you could try doing more creative hits, creative things, or improvising a little bit more. But yeah, anyways, I still ended up tripling it in Legend League. So now I'll kind of show you guys. Let's see. So we can scout the base here. So the exact same base, the only difference is it's rotated with the invis side to the top left, right? So I'll pretty much attack it and kind of break down what I'm doing, right? Now I have the siege barracks, I have a log launcher, and I have a flame fling. You always want to bring a log launcher for invis bases, okay? That's the most important thing. Now, you'll notice here my king is actually not max. I want to point something out too, by the way. Now, I should have probably mentioned this at the beginning of the video, but I want to point something out to you guys, okay? All my troops are currently not max. I mean, most of them are, except for the Valkyries and the Baby Dragon and the Giant, which is not a big deal. And in terms of the king is not maxed. And in terms of the RC equipment, the Rocket Spear and the Electro Boots are not maxed. So this kind of just shows you, if you have decent level Electro Boots, like maybe 10 to 15, and the Rocket Spear is like level 18, you can still use this equipment recommendation. That's what I would say. And in terms of the Fireball, I probably should have mentioned this at the start of the video as well. You would want to have level 23 Fireball with, you can use 2 Quakes instead of 1 to get most of the defenses down. If you're going for the CC, you always need 2 Quake spells at Townhall 17, regardless. So, yeah. Anyways, let's get into it here. Now, I'm going to be running a little bit of an under-leveled siege barracks, but it's fine. Now, I'll show you guys pretty much what I was talking about, right? In this base, there's a few things you can do where you can... actually, this is the modified version, right? You'll see the ground bows are here. The other version had the fire spitters. So we're not gonna get anything fancy. We're just gonna go straight into the base. We're going to end up warden walking here with the warden. We'll check for some traps here. Place the healers down. We're gonna switch to probably the log launcher, as a matter of fact, because we want to make sure we trigger this invis tower area. I said siege barracks earlier, but I lied. You really want to make sure you take care of the invis towers because they can be very annoying. Alright, now we're going to the base, and oh, I just realized I had the wrong FC army here. I want to make sure I have the right army. It's kind of important here, right? Okay, let me repost the base here. Awkward. Here we go. Okay, let's go into it again. So we're going to, same thing, check for the traps, go for the healers, heal the warden, come through on the base, make sure everything is fine. Now, ideally, there's going to be no traps here, but you can even check if you wanted to with the barbarians, like I mentioned earlier. Now, I know for sure my warden's going to get stuck on these storages here, so I'm going to take advantage of that in the moment that I have. I'm going to invis, and invis. I'm going to fireball right into that builder hut here, quake spell, and boom. I should be able to take down most of the compartment except for those ricochet cannons because they are maxed. Now, like I said, if you do want to take down the CC and the ricochet, you do have to have a maxed out. You'd have to have, you have to have 2 quake spells. So now in this scenario, we're going to place the queen down here. We're going to try to make a funnel here as well. Maybe wallbreaker here. We'll pull the witches here on the warden, mini warden. Try to make sure we have the headhunters for the queen there. And we'll break in for the witches. Place the log launcher down. We'll probably rage up all these. Place the druids through and through. The queen ability has to be utilized now, I would say. Now, you want to be careful because in this scenario, my witches are kind of walking a little bit. But it's not the biggest deal. We can wall break inside again. Okay, the warden. See, like I mentioned earlier, the warden is being locked on to me. Place the king now because I waited a little bit here. Queen is kind of funneling the right side. So even though it looked a little sketchy at the start, we can rage again. Even though it looked a little sketchy at the start, it's fine. Also, this ricochet cannon should be kind of low. I'm going to use the RC here. How to trigger all of that. And like I mentioned earlier, the log launcher triggered the invis tower, so that's good for me. Queen is going to eventually end up going down, but that's not a big deal. You notice I'm kind of pushing to the base now. I can actually jump spell through here. And even though we had a rough start at the beginning, a semi-rough start, we had the fireball correctly. The queen did funnel the right side. The witches still ended up going inside. The king still ended up going inside. And we end up having a very nice 3-star here. Now, I could decide to, like, if you had another rage, in this case, you could rage your army again, or you can revive the queen. Like I mentioned earlier, it's just your preference whether you want to run another rage or a revive. But, yeah. I mean, we don't even need to use a revive in this case. We just end up destroying the base. And this is even without even running 2 quakes. The CC still coming out. I mean, as you can see, it's a very, very straightforward fireball into a triple, right? So, yeah, we can also run another one against another base here. And let's see. Let's try to... what base should we hit? Let's go ahead and hit the home base. Do I have a baby? Do I have a Electro Dragon in there? What's going on with that? Holy. Go back here. Hey, I'll go ahead and just choose the same CC that I'm running. It doesn't really matter that much for now. We're just going to still end up poisoning anyways. Now, we're going to look at this base, right? On a more harder base, okay? Now, this base, looking at it initially, doesn't have that much fireball value, and that's fine. You don't want to go for crazy fireball value like I mentioned. You can just go for straightforward value. Now, there's a couple of signature defenses here. We got some Expos. We got some more stuff over here, the CC. But a lot of it is on that Rage Tower comp. So, what do we want to do here? I think the easiest thing to do would be just the fireball, that ricochet maybe, and then kind of go from there. So I think that's what we'll do. Place some warden down, place some balloons down, place some healers down, and we'll go ahead and try to make a funnel and walk towards and fireball that area right there, I guess. That looks like it's going to be the play. We don't want to get too greedy or invest too much time like I mentioned, so we'll go ahead and probably invis now and fireball that right there. Okay, and then now it's very straightforward. That ricochet is going to be 1 HP, but it's fine. We'll put our witches down now, and we will actually switch to siege barracks. We can put this giant down here to protect. All right, everything's looking pretty good so far. We could even try to use a baby dragon to funnel this. Mini warden, place this wall breaker for the wall here. Maybe we can try to break in again, place the queen down. Super witches should be able to walk out here of the base. Place this down here. Siege break troops are doing a nice job funneling. We probably should invis here because my super witch is taking a lot of damage. Maybe we jump spell here and freeze that. Okay. So far looking a little interesting to say the least. I'm not gonna lie. We can use the RC to support our stuff over here. King ability. Do a little bit of a poison action on the CC. And then in this case, we'll pop the queen ability probably and just rage the middle where the archers, the archer queen ability was utilized. Head on her maybe for that king. Am I gonna be able to get it in time? But notice here, same thing. Where we're just pushing to the base here, keeping track of our heroes overall. The RC is gonna end up going down, but that's completely fine. The queen being raged up by the warden, able to take everything out. We can decide to revive the RC or the king. Now, a lot of the times I decide to revive the king, but in this case, I could probably revive the RC. Kind of go from there. We'll put the wizard and the Valkyrie down over here. And you'll notice, pretty straightforward, very simple. You know, I go for the fireball, I pull the warden with the witches, I make sure I set up the siege barracks army, or siege barracks on the bottom. I use my queen to funnel with a baby dragon if I need to. And then I'll just go to the base. Now, like I said, the biggest thing will be time, but in this case, I didn't spend too much time for funneling for the warden, so it ended up working out pretty well for me, right? Pretty straightforward. And yeah, I mean, it's a very strong army. I think you can definitely take advantage of bases that have invis towers, especially in the current meta. So let me know what you guys think, man. Hopefully I was able to help you guys out a little bit in terms of tips. I think that pretty much covers everything, every little thing I know when it comes to using this army. I was able to get my best finish with this on my main accounts, which is 408 in Legend League. I'm going to try to push again. I've been trying to push again a little bit this season, but I haven't. I've been having a little bit of fails because I've been running a different army, which is Fireball Rocket Balloons. Let me know if you guys want me to break down or show a video of that. And yeah, that's pretty much it. If you guys made it to the end, drop a like, subscribe. Hopefully you found the content useful, and I'll see you guys in the next video or stream. Peace.